When my sister asked me which gene key was the next one I was going to look at for my videos, I told her it was gene key 33. And as I was attempting to recall the keywords for the different frequency bands of this gene key, I told her that the gift was mindfulness, the shadow forgetting, and the siddhi I couldn't remember, which made us laugh at the time. But before we look at what forgetting means here and how it relates to the gift of mindfulness, if you want to explore the gene keys for yourself, you might like to visit genekeys.com, where you can make a free profile if you're interested. There are various free resources and some different courses that might interest you. And also feel free to check out the link in my bio and get in touch if you're interested in working with me one-to-one. As a life coach and Gene Keys guide, I can help you to navigate your Gene Keys profile and explore the different keys specific to you that can help you to live in alignment with your true nature. But back to Gene Key 33. So I see in the shadow of forgetting here as essentially an absence of or a depletion of awareness. And we see that, well, I certainly see that from time to time, like when I put something down whilst in a kind of autopilot mode, I often then can't remember where I've put that thing. And that's really because in that moment when I put it down, I wasn't being particularly aware, particularly present, but was rather lost in my own thoughts. But the shadow of forgetting here isn't simply about forgetting where you put your glasses or your keys or your passport. In a more significant way, it's about forgetting to be present with life, forgetting to be aware of yourself and your environment, your experience, both your inner and outer world. And it's only really through being present that we can actually learn from life and grow. And, well, it's a simple teaching, really, but such a profound one. For me, way before I'd heard about the Gene Keys, this was a pivotal teaching for me on my spiritual journey, on my path of self-discovery. And it was through learning about and contemplating, as well as practicing mindfulness, which is the name of the gift frequency of Gene Key 33. And also it's quite a familiar term nowadays to most of us, that I was able to become more aware of my life and of my inner experience, my inner voice. And it's an ongoing journey. As I implied, I'm not always in a perfectly mindful state. It's something that I have to practice, that we all have the capacity to practice in our daily life. And that can be through creating space and stillness, pauses in the day, perhaps in a traditional meditative way, but it can also be within the actions and unfoldings of life in motion, in shopping for groceries whilst being mindful of the richness of experience presented to your various senses, as well as noticing what's going on in your inner state. It can also be in conversation with someone when you notice a desire to express an idea in response to what's being said, and how that desire might have distracted you from listening to the other person, and how you then have a choice to pause and listen, or, as sometimes I still need to do, apologise for interrupting and then listen a bit more before then sharing when it feels harmonious to do so, so that you're aware of the other person and not getting distracted and forgetting to be present in the conversation. But yes, the moments of quietly sitting in meditation are a great training ground for developing this ability to be mindful in everyday life. At least that's how I've found it to be. Because in the gift frequency of mindfulness, there is a deepening of our connection to the still point within us, the consciousness we emerge from. in the frequency of the siddhi, which is given the name revelation, that deepening of that connection to ourselves becomes a fully embodied coming home to yourself that is permanent. And so if the whole path of this gene key story is a coming home to yourself, then we see that that home was always there, even whilst in the shadow state. It was just that it was hidden. Your awareness had turned away from it, had forgotten where it had come from. And so through this journey, through the gift and into the siddhi, we see that there is a complete shift in orientation. And at the siddhic level, there is this coming home to yourself, which is a true remembering. And coming home to yourself is the same as coming home to life itself, because your life and yourself are not separate. Yourself and the world, the universe, the divine are not separate. And so in this siddhi there is the embodiment of this revelation, this remembering.